Y'all ready for this? Welcome to Sports Kid, Drama Kid. I'm Jim. I'm the Sports Kid.
I'm Andi. I'm the Drama Kid.
And today, we're going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers.
If you couldn't tell by Jim's outfit.
This may be one of the last times that I can wear an Aaron Rodgers jersey with him on the Packers, so I'm going to take advantage of that, at least for now. Now, there's too much to talk about with Aaron Rodgers. I decided when researching this episode and thinking back through my own memories with Rodgers. So there's not one single...
Do you have a Tuesdays with Maury situation with Aaron Rodgers? Because that's what that sounded like.
Sundays with Aaron was my childhood. There's not one single dramatic story that stuck out to me because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So for this episode and probably future episodes of the show, I'm going to do sort of Aaron Rodgers origin story primer episode where, like, you know, you hear about him a lot in the news and for various reasons over the years. But if you don't know anything about him, you could use this episode as a little guide.
Study guide.
So we'll hit on multiple.
You got that big Aaron Rodgers exam coming up.
In case anybody does, we got you covered. So I've enjoyed working on some little pre-written monologues.
Oh, I love them, yes.
In the previous episodes and kind of finding a spot to work them in. And I'm going to continue to do that because it's fun. But I put this one right up top just to sort of get us in.
Okay,
so
I'm ready. I'm ready to listen.
I will read. As a kid who grew up in Wisconsin in the 90s, the Packers were sewn deeply into the fabric of my childhood. The Packers are still huge in Wisconsin, but at the time, through my youthful eyes, they were gargantuan. We'd go to church on Sunday and rush home to turn on the game at noon, just in time to watch our true god, Brett Favre. Number 4, the gunslinger. He'd toss the football all around the yard. Most of the time, he'd throw it to other Packers players, but sometimes he threw it to the Bears, the Lions, and worst of all, the Minnesota Vikings. And we didn't really care because he did it with style. He was wild. He was free. The attributes that would later make him the perfect brand ambassador for Wrangler jeans. And a frequent sender of unsolicited dick pics to a staff member of the New York Jets.
Oh, no.
Wild and free. I remember Favre and the Packers beating the Patriots in 1997 as one of the best moments of my young life. It cemented my love for the Packers and football in general. I also remember sitting in the car listening to the radio before nighttime Sunday school in 2004.
Oh.
When the Eagles converted on 4th down and 26 to come back and beat my Packers and knock them out of the playoffs. I'd seen the highs and lows of Packers fandom with Brett Favre at the helm. But all good things must come to an end. And especially in football, having a once-in-a-lifetime QB for your team only happens, well, once in a lifetime. Until it happens twice. And that's what we got with Aaron Rodgers. If Brett Favre was our God, Aaron Rodgers was our Jesus, the only Son of God resurrected to deliver us from evil and give the Cheeseheads another Super Bowl, which we would eventually get. But before that, let's go back to Chico, California in 1983, where the Son of God was born. Any questions?
I have a couple things, since this was so religious.
It always seeps in.
That reminded me of a Haftorah, which is the speech that you give about your Torah portion when you get bar bat mitzvahed. You like get up on the bima, which is the Jewish stage, and you talk about your portion of the Torah that you just read in Hebrew and like what it means to you. So that was a really great Haftorah.
That's what these are going to be.
Chico, California. Isn't that where Ryan from the OC is from?
Yes, I think it is. What, the bad boy?
Yeah, the bad boy. Just like Aaron Rodgers, I presume. Also, why did you say Brett Favre threw the ball to other teams? Were you talking about like an interception?
Yeah, so Brett Favre, he threw a lot of interceptions, but he also threw a lot of touchdowns. He played fast and loose. Wild and free.
God works in mysterious ways. Who's the Holy Spirit? in this situation?
Oh, God. Well, so it's something you can't see but more feel the presence of.
Mm-hmm.
Probably beer. Maybe.
Yeah, that works.
The food and beer in Wisconsin.
Let's go with that.
So, Rodgers was born in 1983 in Chico, California. Rodgers went to Pleasant Valley High School in Chico, where he set records in passing yards. He graduated in 2002 after scoring a 1310 on the SAT, which I looked up and it's really good, but not like genius level. I converted it to ACT, which I understand, and it was a 28. As a high school overachiever, what are your thoughts on 1310?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me for my standardized test scores, and I was getting so anxious.
No, unless you want to share.
No, I do not. Well, when you first said 1310, I was like, this is going to be a sports statistic that I don't understand. Then you said SATs, and I was like, oh, my wheelhouse. Those are like good high school athlete scores, I think.
Isn't SAT 1310 really good?
I believe when he took the SATs, the highest you could get is a 1600. So like that's pretty good. It's not like, like you said, it's not like genius level, but I'm assuming if he was busy playing football, he wasn't doing a rigorous amount of SAT tutoring like I was. Despite
having an impressive high school career and being sort of a genius, he didn't get a lot of attention from colleges though. He said that the reason was because he was probably only 5'10" in high school, which is sort of short for a QB. He was rejected by Florida State, and he was only offered a walk-on role at the University of Illinois. Little question for you. Do you know what a walk-on is in college?
You're asking me this. I know why you're asking this, because my definition of walk-on is when you have like a small bit part in a show. Like,
oh, yep.
When you're, Phil Rosenthal and you walk on, the audience applauds and it's like, oh my God, it's Phil Rosenthal. And then you have like one line and then you go away.
From Somebody Feed Phil?
Yes, from Somebody Feed Phil. I don't know. I was trying to give an example of like someone who would be excited about a walk-on role. And I think Phil Rosenthal just loves being on TV no matter what.
So a walk-on in college sports is you didn't get a scholarship to come play the sport.
But you can play right away.
You could play right away, but that's not what it means. It means that you walked onto the team, meaning you paid your own way. You got into the school, and then they offered you also can play the sport.
Okay. They were like, you can go to college here and pay, and also you don't have to audition for the football team. Try out.
You'll get in. We want to offer you a position on the team, but we don't have any more money to give you.
I get it. I get that.
For specifically playing.
Yeah, just like
you're not good enough.
People who get in on academics alone.
Yep. It's like everybody else. And then what will sometimes happen is you'll get like promoted to the scholarship for the rest of your years if you're good or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he sent Purdue some tape, and someone on the staff replied with a polite letter explaining their lack of interest that contained the line, "Good luck with your aspirations in college football." The innocuous line enraged Rodgers, who stewed over it for years, according to an ESPN article.
I mean, if you read the letter in that tone, yes, it sounds condescending, but it could also just be like, good luck in your college football career.
Yeah, but it's like, good luck in your college football playing career.
If you have a negative outlook.
Which Rodgers might have.
Who's to say?
One thing you'll learn about Rodgers is he's got sort of a chip on his shoulder in general, and he always sort of sees himself as an underdog. So it makes sense that he's sort of been overlooked since the beginning of football. I actually didn't know this about Rodgers, but he almost quit playing football altogether after high school. He was also really good at baseball, and he had an interest in maybe being a lawyer, apparently.
A real triple threat?
Yeah, but he decided to attend Butte Community College to play for them at QB.
Oh.
And do the whole community college pipeline, play for them, try to get noticed by a bigger college.
Can you do that? Like, does community college have good enough football teams for you to be able to? I mean, I guess you can do that because he did that. But
yeah. So there's a whole league for community colleges.
I didn't know that.
It's a way to play higher level football after high school.
I didn't know you could do that with sports. I know people do that with like regular academics where they're just like, I didn't get in where I wanted to go, or I want to save some money because like there's no point in taking gen ed classes at a really expensive place if you don't even want to go there to begin with.
Yep. Yeah. And they literally said that to him when he was doing this from the thing I was reading. Like, he was kind of pissed and his parents were like, no, like our kid's smart and like an overachieving kid. He could go to any of these colleges. I think academically he could have gotten into a lot of schools.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
So they were like, no way. But then they were like, no, you can just take your gen eds while you play football, so you're killing two birds with one stone. So he threw 26 touchdowns in 11 games, and the Cal Golden Bears coach was recruiting someone else from Butte, saw Rodgers, and was like, oh, he seems really good. I don't know why he's not on like a D1 team. Because he was smart. He was able to transfer over after only one JUCO year. Usually it's two because his grades were good or whatever. In 2003, he took over as QB for Cal. And he played there for 2 years, setting school records for passing completion percentage and generally having very few interceptions.
I have a question. Back to the height thing. How tall is the average quarterback that 5'10" would be short?
I don't know.
I'm just saying,
looking it up.
You don't need. I don't need like the official.
6'2".
Okay.
Roughly.
All right. Is that so? Like the idea being like you're tall enough to see over
literally, yes,
everybody? Okay.
Traditionally, the like pocket passer of old school football stands there, takes a couple steps and throws.
Yeah.
And looks beautiful doing it.
I mean, I get it. There's sometimes you're a whole foot taller than me. And so there's sometimes when I'm like standing on a chair to like hang something up and I like look down and I'm like, Jim sees the world from all the way up here. Like this is a real bird's eye view of everything going on.
I'm right around average QB height. I could throw over that line.
Yeah, you could have done it.
So yeah, Rodgers took over as QB for Cal.
Okay.
He does really well. He finished 9th in the Heisman Trophy voting in 2004, another snub. After his 2004 season, he decides to skip his senior year and enter the 2005 NFL draft.
Was this like a risky move since he has had such a sort of underdog path?
I think it actually wasn't that risky because he was seen as like one of the top two quarterbacks in the nation.
And quarterbacks are sort of like gold in the NFL, right? Because
every year there's QBs that like pop up to like around draft season where they're like, by the way, this guy on Kentucky has actually really got all the NFL intangibles. And they'll like be a list of like 5 to 10 guys almost.
What's an intangible? What's the je ne sais quoi of?
Height, arm strength, like
feels tangible.
Yeah, a general allure doesn't get you very far as a quarterback, but that is how they say it. Yeah, so Rodgers was kind of one of the top people this year.
Okay.
Before the draft, Rodgers was confident that he would be drafted early and potentially number one overall because the 49ers needed a quarterback and they probably would pick him, he thought, because he's like a local golden boy at Cal.
Oh, yeah.
And the Niners play in San Francisco.
And
so
he
it's
grew
like
up in California.
Hometown, yeah. And so he was super pumped to come out and be in that draft. Anyway, the 2005 draft is a whole thing on its own, so we're going to get into that now. In order to do that, I'm going to take you through some clips and segments of an NFL Films documentary that was about this draft.
Okay.
This is a no-brainer. Like, I'm from Chico, 3 hours away, went to Berkeley, best quarterback in the draft. I mean, let's make it happen. I really felt like after my interview with the 49ers that there was no way that they wouldn't pick me. It was going to be a perfect fit, me and San Francisco, my childhood team, and I was going to be wearing the red and gold.
Well, they're really building it up that, like, Aaron Rodgers was like, this is a sure bet. Like, I'm going to get picked by the 49ers. And, like, everybody else thought so, apparently. He had a really great interview at the Combine.
Yeah, which is the thing they do. They do, like, team interviews to, like, get to know character.
Interesting. That's like a career fair for...
Well, it is.
Oh.
It is kind of a
And
career.
they also, like, watch them play and stuff.
They do, like, 40-yard dash and, like...
Also, I think I noticed a little goatee on Mr. Rogers.
Oh, he's had so many different facial and regular hair
And I gotta
combos.
say, I don't like it.
Oh, you'll see more of that.
Oh, boy.
I dreamt about being the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. So you can imagine my disappointment in 2005 when they decided to go a different direction.
Number 1 pick, 2005 draft. The commissioner has the card.
With the first selection in the 2005 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Alex Smith, quarterback, Utah.
Forget living his dream. Aaron Rodgers was about to endure a nightmare.
Forget franchise quarterbacks. Forget franchise. Aaron Rodgers will be solid. How far he drops is going to be the storyline of the day, but somebody's going to get themselves a fine, solid starting quarterback.
I think that everybody around the game thought that Aaron was going to go in the next few picks.
Okay, pause it. This is so dramatic. The music.
I know.
And like, it was actually going to be a nightmare. Like, I've watched a lot of true crime documentaries, and like, they're treating this as if like Aaron Rodgers didn't get picked by the 49ers and in fact was murdered.
And he was later killed by a man in a dark coat.
Like the drama. Also, love the gelled flip.
Got the gelled flipped up fin.
I love that.
Yeah, so he's now sort of sweating. So
the 49ers did they pick the other guy?
Yeah, they picked Alex Smith.
Okay.
And Rodgers was like the next logical quarterback available.
But in the draft, typically, do people pick quarterbacks first? I'm assuming if they need a quarterback.
Yeah, if they need a quarterback, they'll pick them first or early.
But did anyone else need a quarterback?
That was kind of the thing with this, is that other teams didn't necessarily need a quarterback next.
I see.
Antrell Roll went number 8 to the Cardinals, and Carlos Rogers number 9 to the Redskins. That left just one undrafted player in the green room.
Done.
But Aaron Rodgers would continue to wait. The draft offered its own human drama on television.
I'm going to ask each one of you guys, where does Aaron Rodgers get picked?
You know, we have this genre of reality TV. I mean, the draft was really one of the first instances of reality television, and that's as real as it gets, to see a guy have his dreams being squashed in front of you, in front of the entire country. The Rodgers green room moment is the most famous.
He's just sitting there waiting, like the last person being picked for the dodgeball team.
Yep. And the thing was, they only invited like the top 10 picks to this room.
I was about to say, I was like, where was everybody else?
They didn't have everyone show up because they never really do, because you don't really know where they're going to go. But they were like, these 10 guys are going to be
definitely be drafted
early. So we're going to like have them in person so they can walk up, shake the hand of the commissioner.
So embarrassing.
So everyone else at this point is picked. And it's just Rodgers' gelled hair moping
That's
in the room.
really embarrassing.
The TV cameras are there because they're there for the room, and they're like picking up on this drama of this guy who didn't get what he wanted. And they're really only filming him because there's no one else there. Everyone else is celebrating.
Oh my God. And to that guy's point about reality TV, like that's a good point. Like this is sports reality
I wanted
TV.
to include that. I was like, ooh, that's
For
a little juicy morsel. Like early reality TV, 2005.
Yeah. I mean, that is like some classic reality TV cringe when you're just watching somebody going through it, but trying not to look like they're going through it. Are he and Alex Smith friends?
I don't think they really interact. I don't know where they stand.
Because like this is like triggering me in like a overachieving like academic kid / performer kid of like there's always that one person who's like pretty much exactly like you know, or like likely to get cast or likely to get like the top grade or whatever. And you're just like trying to be amicable to them, but you're like, I hate them.
Yeah. It was kind of this because they were the only two quarterbacks brought to this whole like experience.
Is sad Aaron Rodgers a meme? Like this feels like a meme to me.
I don't know. I don't remember it from the time, but it should be.
This is television now. That's drama. Reality, first round quarterback. The drama, he keeps getting passed on and passed on. Oh, the lonely odyssey of that player.
A couple of weeks ago, Aaron, you were the clear-cut number one. What's
They're
changed
talking
over
to
that
him
time?
during it.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you. I haven't changed anything. I think it's just perceptions of me or maybe needs of the teams at the spots. And I'm just, I'm not too worried. I'm excited about going to a team that wants me and making an impact right away.
Of course, they sent in the woman. They're like, we need somebody to interview him. And
Let's
it's going to be
Colburn down there.
It's going to be really, really uncomfortable. Let's make the only woman we have do it.
Yeah, it always is.
You start questioning everything from where you worked out to how hard you worked to the people you surround yourself with to leaving college. Very humbling.
On the left is Darla Rodgers, Aaron's mom, and she's being consoled by none other than Wilma McNabb. A little sympathy, a little consoling.
I love that so much.
Wilma McNabb.
Well, I just like, that is like so classic, like, not to be like men are horrible and women are amazing, but like, this is a horrible, stressful situation. And like, I just love like Wilma finding Darla and being like, this has got to be hard for you. Let's talk it out. Like, I love that. Also, I am familiar with McNabb by name because everyone I grew up with had McNabb jerseys.
Oh, yeah, yep, Philly.
I'm from around Philly.
A lot of people did not have Aaron Rodgers as a top 10 quarterback. He has flaws. He has blemishes. The sampling of his throws deep down the field just were not there. That doesn't project well to the National Football League. I really don't like this ball position because I don't think it gives you enough whip to throw the ball deep down the field on a consistent basis.
It jumps so quickly from like, oh, this sucks for this guy, that's really disappointing, to like, let's dissect all of the reasons why he is inadequate.
In real time, they had to pivot. They're like, oh my God, this is the juicy drama of this draft.
And it's always just some white guy who looks like a thumb being like, I don't like the arm position.
Yeah, let's circle this arm position. And they're just going through it. And like, they would have said the exact opposite had he gotten picked first or like
they would have
fifth.
been like, what an interesting arm position.
Yeah, for someone, you know. It was just, it's wild how quickly they pivot to start like criticizing, like, oh, he's falling.
And like people being like, I knew the whole time he wasn't going to get picked. Okay.
First round contracts at that time were not what they are today. They were onerous. And first round quarterback contracts were even more onerous. So if you had a highly paid quarterback, i.e. Peyton Manning, you could not afford a number one quarterback. And that was true of a lot of teams. As we saw Rodgers slipping, there's teams here that have a quarterback, they've already paid a quarterback, they can't afford to pay a number one to be a backup. That was a function of the salary cap that doesn't exist today because we've rectified the problem with the rookie contracts.
This is the kind of thing where it's like, they're going to give all the actual like logical reasons for why this happened. But when you're the person this is happening to, you're still like, it must be because I suck and not all these other factors.
Oh, for sure. There's a million other factors. And you're like, oh, yeah, I suck though.
Yeah. Like when you audition for something and you don't get it and you're like, well, I probably wasn't right for the part, or like there's a whole number of factors. They wanted someone tall or whatever. But when you don't get it, you're like, it's because I'm horrible at what I do, right?
Exactly.
At least I do.
I also hate how the guy in the documentary is like, rookie contracts were outrageous at the time, and we've rectified that, meaning they've just paid people less.
That's a man who learned the word onerous from a word of the day calendar and wanted to use it as many times as possible.
Can I get 3 oneruses?
Things could get interesting now for Aaron Rodgers, possibly Green Bay looking for a quarterback. No one's really sure how much longer Brett Favre will play.
About 3 or 4 days before the draft, I was convinced that the best thing to do if he got to us was pick Aaron Rodgers. I told him at the time when I made the call and then told him we were going to pick him that I thought maybe some divine intervention had played a part.
All right, the commissioner of the league is walking on stage.
Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Aaron Rodgers, quarterback from California.
There you go. Why am I like about to cry?
The music swells.
Well, it's just like, I'm like getting a little emotional. It's just hard to watch a guy with that embarrassing goatee and that embarrassing gelled flip hair just sit there trying to smile.
All the tables around him emptied.
Yes, he's in a hotel conference center, which is the most depressing place you can ever be in any circumstance. Yep. And also just like, I think this is going way too wide, but, you know, even now we don't have like a great facility for having conversations with like heterosexual men about their like expressing their emotions and feelings. And also like the sports world can be really toxic about that. And so just watching this guy sit there and knowing he's having just like really big feelings and he just has to keep like looking at the camera like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, nodding. Like,
yeah, like it just sort of...
Yeah, it's tough.
I've been emotionally manipulated by this documentary, and I feel feelings now.
So the Packers pick him at 24th pick when he was supposed to be 1.
I mean, 24 out of all the people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So all the Packers fans at the draft and back home in Lambeau Field watching the draft.
Oh, yeah, they're losing their
cheering for him.
minds.
And they're like, yes, we got our guy.
Yeah, we got our Jesus.
Yep, our successor to Brett Favre. Divine intervention did play a role.
Oh, boy.
So recap the entirety of sort of that saga for us, if you don't mind.
Okay, the entirety of that saga is that Aaron Rodgers was an amazing quarterback, the number one. Everybody thought he was going to go first.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, himself included, he had a great time at the NFL career fair. Had some like great, very encouraging interviews. And he's from California, and he grew up with the 49ers, and it's just a natural choice because they need a quarterback. And then the draft happens, and he's just sitting there without a friend in the world, with all the cameras just on him, like being like, "Hey, when's this asshole going to get picked?" Very, very dramatic, very sad. And then he finally does get picked by the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
Because of divine intervention and God, and also the logical reasons like salary cap.
Exactly. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So this pissed Aaron Rodgers off, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
He was super anxious on the draft day, dropping all the way to 24.
That's a lot of cortisol rushing through your brain. Like, that's not good.
And this is a little fun thing, again, from the Dan Patrick Show, which I've used a clip from before. Sports talk radio guy. Had Aaron Rodgers on, I don't exactly know when, but reading his draft profile. Like,
oh my gosh.
Negative, like sort of a mean tweets draft profile, Aaron Rodgers style.
What is a draft profile? Like
what that people thought of him.
I got your draft profile. You excited about reading this?
Yeah.
This is actual comments made by Scout's draft profile, Aaron Rodgers.
Gets sacked a lot, doesn't have ability to change the release of the football, mechanically very rigid. He's a little too short. Jeff Tedford coached quarterbacks. Never pan out.
So Jeff Tedford was his college coach, and he had a bunch of other quarterbacks who just didn't make it in the NFL. So they carried that over him. That was another talking point on the day.
That seems really petty.
Yeah. Your coach can't produce a quarterback of an NFL caliber.
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
Too well-schooled, very robotic. Don't become good pro players. Rodgers is the same mold. System quarterback.
Ooh.
Can't create on his own.
Ouch.
Panics under pressure, gets flustered easily.
Wow. What bothers you the most from that profile?
Too well-schooled, like you can be too prepared.
Is that a bad thing?
I guess. Very robotic.
Now, Paulie's got the names of all the people who said these things.
I'll give them to you later.
Are you interested in one in particular? And Paulie can give you the name of the scout.
It's probably all unnamed people.
Paulie, you got names attached to this?
I'm going to write them up. You can put them in your pocket on the way out. Protecting sources.
I need some more motivation. So.
That is classy. If that were me, I'd be like, yes, I would like to spend the rest of the show discussing who said what about me. God, that is like an actor's worst nightmare. Being like, I want notes after my audition, but only the negative ones.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, no.
Especially with acting, I imagine like people that are sitting in a theater all day, like like watching people come in just say awful things.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I would imagine if people knew that their notes were going to be read on television, they'd be nicer about it. But with the assumption that that was going to be like a private document, people are just like, has a weird face. Like,
So Rodgers is drafted in 2005, and immediately Brett Favre is now pissed off.
Oh my God.
Brett Favre still feels like he has some good years left and doesn't like that his successor was just drafted in the first round. And he's quoted as saying, "My contract doesn't state I have to get him ready to play. Now, hopefully he watches me and gets something from that. There's no clause that says you groom the next guy who's going to take your job or else. It just doesn't work that way."
Oh my God. This is so like high school. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't get picked right away and that's really dramatic. And then he does get picked and like the senior, the popular senior is like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yep.
Yeah. Come on, buddy. I mean, haven't you ever seen a family that has like a really old golden retriever and then like a golden retriever puppy? And you're sort of like, oh, that's interesting that they got the new dog before the old dog passed away.
Oh, yeah, like our old neighbors. They had 3 tiers of golden retrievers.
I know, they had a really old one and like a middle-aged one.
They
and
were
then,
like, we always need 2.
Yeah, so sometimes we're going to have 3
3.
because one of them's getting trained up.
Yeah.
But the other 2.
Exactly. Yeah, so yeah, the old
Brett
retrievers.
Favre could have been nicer.
Oh, he definitely could have been nicer. Now...
The male fragility all over this story is really excruciating.
Now, on a personal level, I don't remember having a particular feeling about Rodgers being drafted, but I know my family and I worshipped Favre. He won the Super Bowl and took the Packers to another Super Bowl in 96 and 97.
First time I went to your house, there was a framed poster of him in your basement.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, nobody really went down there, but...
Yeah, no. So... That's where I was learning to love football. Favre was the QB. He played this sort of non-traditional style that I alluded to, but it was exciting to watch. And
non-traditional meaning throwing interception.
He would just kind of make any throw, and he had this really strong arm, and usually he would fit it in there. And miraculously, the guy catches it, but sometimes we would just look like a total idiot. Favre and Rodgers were very different people in a lot of ways. Favre was from Mississippi and was more rough around the edges. Rodgers was too educated. And from California. Favre and the other backup QB at the time sort of tormented Rodgers from some stuff that I was reading and watching, calling him a nerd, like straight out of high school. There was one story where Favre and the other backup QB at the time had all the players sign Rodgers' helmet as if it were going to be sent out for a charity donation, and he had to wear it that day at practice because he couldn't get another one in time. They basically said, hey, sign these helmets and put his helmet amongst the charitable donation.
That is high level mean.
Yeah. Like they thought out, oh, this would be funny.
Like that is like high level evil.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So he had to wear a like signed helmet.
This is
practice.
Literally like a 90s high school movie.
Yep. And it was like watching them recount doing that, they were just like joking, like good old boy, like, oh yeah. And I was like, that's like really annoying.
It's toxic.
Rodgers got a high score on the Wonderlic test, which is an IQ test given to football players. And Favre and him would always go back and forth about that. And Rodgers would give Favre shit for not scoring high in the Wonderlic.
We have an IQ test specifically for football players?
Oh, yes, we do. It's like a dumbed down LSAT.
Okay.
But just to test general aptitude at various things.
Are the questions related to football?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, okay. So it's like mind puzzles.
Yes. Okay. And like math.
And they give this to all football players?
Yeah, I tried to take it. I did not do that well.
No?
Well,
really?
I just like didn't, I'm bad at like quick mental math.
I'm horrible at any sort of like testing.
Yeah.
Oh, and mental math. Yeah. Forget about it. It gives me horrible anxiety.
So that was like a thing where Rodgers would give Favre shit for not getting a high Wonderlic. And then Favre would be like, Wonderlic, nerd. Just like.
God, the teasing about someone being too smart or too educated comes from such a place of like deep insecurity on the part of the person saying it. Also, again, don't know much about football, but I hear all the time about like quarterbacks needing to be like particularly intelligent. And so the fact that on the one hand, he is particularly intelligent, and yet you have people being like, he's too smart.
Yeah. Maybe his smarts are stopping his mechanics from being fluid.
It's like, God,
like he's thinking too much.
Like those are completely opposing expectations of someone.
So they were really mean to Rodgers in like a very high school, childish way.
Yes.
Favre and the other backup, because Rodgers is sort of this like predecessor coming in and gonna take the job of Favre.
I also love the other backup as like the henchman.
Oh my God. And he totally looks like it too. Let me pull him up. His name was Craig Nall, which is like such a bully.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, did this guy have any like interesting career?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Of course. So he's like riding the coattails of like Brett Favre. Yeah. This guy's got like classic mean sidekick vibes. 100%.
Yeah, he's like the blonde guy with a mullet, but he doesn't have a mullet, but he would in an 80s
Yeah,
movie.
like every mean girl in a movie has their friend who is like just like gets off on like proximity and being mean at the same time.
So his henchman, Craig Nall, was also in on that. And before 2007, Favre played the will he won't he retire all offseason, giving Rodgers hope that he might get to start. But then Favre came back and had a great season. But then after 2007, Favre retires.
Okay.
But then Favre unretires.
Oh.
And gets traded to the New York Jets. And then he did poorly. And he retired. And then he unretired.
Wait, what?
Again. And signed with the Minnesota Vikings, which was the most insane thing for me personally at the time, because the Minnesota Vikings, at least to me and like sort of my town, because we had a lot of Minnesota fans, like my other friends were from that area in our schools, like the Vikings were the worst.
Yeah.
And so to see Packers legend going to get the number 4 retired and put up in the stadium, goes and plays for the Vikings out of like petty, like he could go other places. Like the Vikings were a good option. Or just be retired. But he needed to go back, and he like did well for them and beat the Packers in some games. They didn't go to the Super Bowl.
Was he their starting quarterback?
Yeah.
Huh.
So imagine this guy you watched your entire life on Green Bay defeating the Vikings, be on that team.
So did Favre end up playing Rodgers?
Yep.
Ooh.
And so that became this like rivalry. Like that first time that they played with him on the Vikings was like insane.
This really isn't like a Joker-esque origin story. A little bit.
So in 2008, Rodgers takes over.
Okay.
He does okay. He coined his famous touchdown celebration pretty early into his career, which is the championship belt, where he goes.
Oh, yeah. The
And
like
then
weird belt thrust.
That was made
Is that like
famous.
a nod to wrestling?
Yeah, like a championship belt.
Okay.
And he also did it in an ad campaign.
Mike, thanks for doing that discount double check. You saved us hundreds.
What was that? The discount double check? It's what we code through your policies to make sure that you're getting all the discounts you deserve.
No, I get that part, but you guys are doing my move.
The discount double check move?
It's my touchdown dance.
So you're a dancer?
No, I'm a quarterback.
Oh, quarterback.
Whoa.
I'm a robot.
Where's your teacher?
Get out of here.
Aaron Rodgers got his. How about you?
Rodgers! Discount double check.
So they turned
Pretty good comedic actor, I gotta say.
They turned Rodgers' move into discount double check.
What was that robot joke? Was that supposed to be a dig at his draft portfolio?
Ooh, robot. Discount double check. No, I don't know. I think it was a nod at dancing, like dancing the robot. But yeah, so that was the start of Rodgers acting in ads. And, well, maybe he did some stuff before that, but I don't remember it. But
I'm not familiar with his earlier acting work.
I don't know all of his ad work, but he may have done like a local Green Bay, like lawn mowing sort of used dealership.
100%.
Yeah. Come on down.
I've seen the local commercials in Wisconsin. There's no way that Aaron Rodgers did not do one of those for like Digger's Hotline or
Don't pass on this opportunity to buy a brand new used Toyota.
Oh my God. Was Brett Favre in any of those Nerf commercials or like water gun or like Nerf gun commercial or no, Elway? There was a famous football player.
I don't remember.
He was passing like a Nerf football. It might have been Elway.
The new farthest flying Vortex Mega Flight.
Yeah.
I'm John Elway. I set a world record by throwing the Vortex football over 90 yards.
I'm not John Elway, but I'm going to smash John Elway's record with the new Vortex Mega Flight.
A new record, over 100 yards.
Awesome throw.
It's an awesome ball.
If you want to smash your own record, you want the new Vortex Mega Flight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Had you never seen that?
No, I had seen it, and I threw so many vortexes.
Wait, really?
Oh, yes.
Oh
Everyone
my
had a
God.
vortex. Throw that thing over the house. Yes. Try to throw it over the house and play like long vortex catch because that thing had that like spiral thing on the back that made it go very far.
I never had one,
Break
but
your record.
I saw the commercial a number of times.
Oh my God, that brought back memories.
Over the house.
Packers brought new meaning to go long. The Packers win the Super Bowl over the Steelers in Rodgers' first and only Super Bowl win in the 2010-2011 season.
Oh, I remember that. Well, I didn't watch it, but we were in college at the time, and I remember one of my housemates being really excited about that.
And then in 2011, Rodgers the next year would win MVP with a 122.5 passer rating. Sorry, I just skipped over the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was amazing. The fact that he did that.
Who did halftime?
Oh my God. I don't remember that. I just remember us finally winning a Super Bowl with Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Keith Urban and Maroon 5 performed during the pregame. The Texas Christian University Horned Frog Marching Band also performed during the pregame show.
Wait a minute. So are they the Horned Frogs?
The Horned Frogs, yes.
No, but I'm saying, is their pep band called the Horned Frogs? Because that's a missed opportunity if not.
It does not say. Leah Michelle performed America the Beautiful. That is just another cursed thread in the tapestry of Aaron Rodgers' life.
Oh, beautiful for space.
Yep, Leah Michelle. Glee. There's Greg Jennings just taking it in. There's Ben Roethlisberger about to lose. And Mike Tomlin about to lose.
I really like Mike Tomlin. He's got a fun personality.
All right, we don't need more of that. But
no.
Leah Michelle did sing that.
And Christina Aguilera flubbed the national anthem. I mean, who cares if she messes up the words? She sounds so good.
Where is it?
It's coming up. Be patient. Enjoy in the meantime. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
We forgot the ramparts.
No. Okay.
Yeah. It really speaks volumes that that's what I remember from the Super Bowl and nothing else.
So yes, I didn't mean to skip over the Super Bowl. It was incredible that we finally got one after Favre with Rodgers after this whole saga.
Bet Rodgers. If I were Aaron Rodgers, I would have, as soon as the game was over, like on the field, been like, someone bring me a cell phone that is actively calling Brett Favre. Because I want to scream it.
Yep. So Rodgers wins league MVP in 2011 with a 122.5 passer rating, which is the highest rating of all time.
I was about to say, I don't know what that means.
And passer rating, I looked this up because I knew this was coming, because I actually didn't really know either, is calculated using a player's passing attempts, completions, yards, touchdowns, and interceptions. And it's like a trigonometry equation.
Oh, wow.
It takes all those things into account and calculates a number that's like a 3-digit or whatever decimal passer rating in NFL is a scale from 0 to 158.3.
This is like the worst middle of a Venn diagram for me ever. Sports and complicated math equations.
I also passed over that pretty quickly. So 2012 to 2017, Rodgers is individually great, winning MVP in 2014, and the Packers are really good and should have probably won another Super Bowl at some point in here.
Okay, let's skip the editorializing, Tim.
Rodgers and the Packers started off 2012. Rodgers started off the season in 2012 with a 30-22 loss against San Francisco. And with the loss, Rodgers lost his bet with music group Boyz II Men and had to wear an Alex Smith jersey during next week's practice. Had the Packers won the game, Boyz II Men would have had to sing the national anthem during the next Lambeau Field home game.
Oh, so Pete Rose can't bet on every Cincinnati Reds game ever. But Aaron Rodgers can enter a playful bet with Boyz II Men.
Yeah, I just think it shows how Rodgers' stature rose after he won the Super Bowl. That he's presumably has Boyz II Men on one of his speed dial.
They're friends, yeah.
Numbers, or at least has someone's email.
It's like a Hotmail account.
Yeah. Boyz2men@hotmail.com. Subject line, the bet.
we're going to get in trouble for releasing their real email address.
Damn it. Going ahead to 2014, I'm just kind of picking little moments in this time stretch where Rodgers is good and they should have won another Super Bowl, but they didn't. And 2014,
I'm just giving my completely unbiased opinion.
The Packers started 1-2 and didn't look good, and Rodgers told fans in the media to relax in his famous quote. And I have that clip here. And he had a radio show in Wisconsin, like weekly, where Rodgers would get on a mic.
It was his show?
It was his show, or like he would always appear on it and sort of give his takes on things, and people would ask him questions. So this is kind of the beginning of Rodgers' like media presence. Was
the
like
only
him having
local Wisconsin radio I've ever listened to is the people in your neighborhood who share like cookie recipes and like.
Oh my God. So before we get into this clip, I need to go a little bit over that. We should do a whole like thing on this, but the want ads are a thing in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, where I'm from. And it's just a radio show of people calling in and just explaining like either recipes or that they have something for sale or something
they have
they
like
want.
one part that attaches to a tailgate.
Yeah.
That they're willing to sell for $5.
I have the rear end of a 1979 Dodge Ram. If anyone wants one of those or needs it, I think it's pretty specific to that model, but I have one and I'm not getting rid of it. So come get it. $55 or best offer.
The best is when someone reads a recipe and then I think does the host read it back again?
Yeah, it'll be like, oh my God, like Nancy's apple cake recipe. 17 apples, cored and peeled.
And then like 10 minutes later, someone calls in and is like, I missed the whole apple cake recipe. Can you read it again?
Yes, we can read that again. So again, Nancy's apple cake recipe, 17 apples, cored and peeled, 3 cups brown sugar, packed.
It is incredible. Like the ASMR of local radio.
You could just look this up now on a phone, but it's incredible that he would read that.
Really
anyway,
good.
that was local radio. We should talk about that more. But Rodgers had a radio show.
Okay.
And he famously said, relax, after they were 1-2 to start that year. And it just kind of gets quoted and it's a meme. So in the Rodgers canon, it must be played.
5 letters here, just for everybody out there in Packerland and yourself today. RELAX. Relax.
Why did he say that in like a Matthew McConaughey, like...
He did.
All right.
LAX. Okay, so now we're going to get into some fun stuff.
I've been having fun this whole time, just for the record.
So from 2014 to 2017, sort of when the Packers should have been winning Super Bowls, Aaron Rodgers dated actress Olivia Munn. In 2018, the Packers fire Mike McCarthy. And Rodgers and Mike couldn't win another Super Bowl, so they brought in Matt LaFleur to take over.
Zaddy LaFleur. Jim hates this.
Yes, Zaddy LaFleur.
Listen, as someone who has sat on the couch and had my eyeballs in the range of a football game, not necessarily against my will, but it's not my favorite thing to watch, I've just been noticing that on the whole, the NFL coaches have gone from looking like Andy Reid to looking like, as the youth say, zaddies. Including, and especially, Matt LaFleur. He's got the little, like buzzed on the sides, flippy top hair. He's always wearing, like, some kind of, like, soccer-y jacket.
So in 2018, the Packers fire Mike McCarthy, who Rodgers won the Super Bowl with, and hire the current coach, Matt Zaddy LaFleur.
Yeah.
And in 2020 and 2021, Rodgers wins league MVP, but lost in the NFC Championship game both years, which is the game before the Super Bowl. As you remember, me not being very happy about that.
Not specifically, but sure.
Yeah. Well, just in general, the Packers always get so close lately.
Yeah, you've been disappointed by Wisconsin sports other than the Bucks.
It's not
pretty
they
consistently.
Just lose like the Bears and they're not involved at all.
Yeah.
It's like they get to the game before the Super Bowl where like anything can happen and it doesn't.
And like it'll look like they're gonna win. Like they look like, I don't know. There's a lot of times where like hope gets up and then is just dashed. I mean, I'm explaining sports in general, but
yeah. Yeah, but it's just been a long ride of Rodgers since that Super Bowl, like on the football end, where he is incredible and gets like league MVPs and is just recognized individually as great, like one of the all-time greats.
Well, you can't win a game on a quarterback alone.
I guess you can't, you know.
You can have Dame Judi Dench in your movie, but at the end of the day, it's still Cats. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. It was a bad movie.
I didn't see it.
You don't need to.
Back to the dating life from 2018 to 2020. Rodgers dated race car driver Danica Patrick.
I forgot about that.
In the second half of 2020, he started dating Shailene Woodley.
I very much remember that.
Who announced their engagement on The Tonight Show in 2021. And then they called it off in February of 22. It wasn't meant to be.
She had some heavy influence over him, though, it seems.
Into what we're going to get into here, which is some of his more recent drama. Before we get to kind of Rodgers' most recent off-the-field drama, I wanted to touch on briefly Rodgers and his family. So it's pretty well known that Rodgers and his family aren't that close. He doesn't really talk about it, and he kind of just says, like, it's personal stuff, but...
Okay.
We wouldn't be a podcast if not to try to speculate about someone's personal stuff. But he's sort of said that he's felt that they've taken advantage of him or, I don't know, like can't relate to him because now he's like Mr. Big Shot fame. And like in the tabloid type media, people were like, oh, now that he's dating Olivia Munn, like after the Super Bowl, when that was like kind of his first famous relationship that like maybe he was like too good for them, that kind of thing. And this was all sort of crystallized when Aaron's brother Jordan Rodgers won The Bachelorette in the summer of 2016. And I have a little clip of that.
His brother was on The Bachelorette?
Yep.
Aaron's brother Jordan won The Bachelorette in the summer of 2016, proposing to JoJo Fletcher during the season finale.
Will you marry me?
Yes! Oh my God, I love
Give me that hand.
Yes.
Give me that hand. Oh, I'm shaking. Let me see if I can get it on.
But in an earlier episode, Jordan told Fletcher about brother Aaron's distance from the family.
Me and Aaron don't really have that much of a relationship. It's just kind of the way he's chosen to do life, and I chose to stay close with my family.
Jordan told People, you don't get any time off camera, so we're talking about really trying to get to an engagement. You got to share everything. It had to be talked about. In another episode, Jordan brought Fletcher home to meet his family, where they shared a meal together at a table conspicuously arranged with 2 empty chairs. While that staging was obviously set up, it was a definite statement.
I mean, also, that's where the camera was, right? Where the chairs were empty.
But it was funny that his brother going on The Bachelorette and talking about like he's not that close with Aaron.
I mean, you can't trust
thing.
anything anyone says on reality dating shows, honestly. I mean, maybe it's true. It's probably true. Whatever. I also just want to say I love that the term is won the Bachelorette. Even when it's the Bachelorette, the men still do the proposing. Like, isn't the whole point of the show that it's her decision as the Bachelorette?
Wait, is that what happened there?
He proposed to her.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah.
Whatever.
Some say,
believe it or not, the Bachelorette franchise hasn't been good for feminism.
All right, so Aaron's brother Jordan Rodgers goes on The Bachelorette. That causes drama because now everyone's talking about their personal life and how he's not that close with his family, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to what I've labeled as Rodgers anti-vax ayahuasca time.
Yeah.
Which is sort of
the moment we're still living in.
The moment we're still living in, and sort of Rodgers' most dramatic recent thing, which we have to talk about because it's just kind of a big Rodgers story.
He lied about being vaccinated, right? Like what he really got was like some like immunotherapy or whatever.
Right. So the biggest thing that came out of this was the line, "Yeah, I've been immunized," which is Rodgers was questioned about like his COVID-19 vax status and said he'd been immunized, which means he said that he got like alternative treatments,
right?
Instead of a COVID vax, and was really vocal about not.
Was he still with Shailene during this time?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I don't know if there was like word on whether or not she was vaccinated. I can't remember, but she's kind of crunchy. She like I've seen articles about her like recommending like eating clay or like lying like pantsless in the sun so that your hoo-ha like can get the benefits of the sun.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so Rodgers is immunized, not vaccinated. He goes on Pat McAfee and makes a bunch of false COVID claims.
Yeah.
And so Pat McAfee is like this podcaster and host that Rodgers has sort of buddied up to in recent years.
He's like on it a lot, right?
Yeah, he's on it a lot, and he like checks in every Tuesday, similar to what he did when he hosted his like radio show in Wisconsin, where he just had this platform to go to. And because McAfee has this huge platform, Rodgers shows up on there quite a bit. I'll play you a little bit of the ayahuasca COVID claims interview. It's really long. They just have him on there to talk about like where he's at with all of that. And this was kind of the main like scandalous interview with McAfee during that time.
So I appreciate you so much for this incredible honor that we have. To
pause really quick. A man in a tank top is standing up and shouting. His hair is gelled to high heaven.
Oh, yes.
Is this Pat McAfee?
This is Pat McAfee.
I don't like him. Continue.
The floor is yours, Mr. Rodgers.
I realize I'm in the crosshairs of the woke mob right now, so before my final nail gets put in my cancel culture casket, I think I'd like to set the record straight on so many of the blatant lies that are out there about myself right now. First of all, I didn't lie in the initial press conference. During that time, it was a very, witch hunt that was going on across the league. And at the time, my plan was to say that I've been immunized. It wasn't some sort of ruse or lie. It was the truth. And I'll get into the whole immunization in a second. But had there been a follow-up to my statement that I've been immunized, I would have responded with this. I would have said, look, I'm not, some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I am somebody who's a critical thinker. You guys know me. I march to the beat of my own drum. I believe strongly in bodily autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to have to acquiesce to some woke culture or crazed, group of individuals who say you have to do something. Health is not a one-size-fits-all.
I don't know if I have the energy or intelligence to unpack this the way it should be unpacked.
Yeah, there's plenty of other things out there that would do a much better job.
It's just like a lot of buzzword ideology.
Yeah, he hits on everything like woke mob and everything's coming after him.
And then he invokes like the whole bodily autonomy thing, which is like...
It's just too much for like a fun sports podcast. But
it's too much for a podcast hosted by a man in a tank top with like a gelled pompadour and like neon lights behind him.
Yeah, and I'm just saying it's too fun for our sports podcast. That's fun too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, Pat McAfee is a whole thing. He's a vibe. Rodgers also talked about on Pat McAfee his ayahuasca retreat, which is another big sort of recent Rodgers development. He went and did an ayahuasca retreat and was changed forever after that.
People say that.
Yeah, they
People do say that. I don't want to knock that because that's been an important experience for a lot of people. I think particularly people who have gone through like a trauma. That being said, when celebrities do it, I don't know. When celebrities do anything that's more in like the alternative thinking or medicine universe, I'm always a little bit like side-eye about it.
Right. Yeah, this seems to have maybe done some things for Rodgers.
I mean, the thing is, when people tell you that they did ayahuasca, what they're really saying is that they shat their pants and or vomited publicly, but for some reason it was not the worst experience of their life.
It was life-changing.
Was the best.
All right, here's a little bit about Rodgers on his ayahuasca.
You enjoying it a lot more now, I would assume, yes?
I've been enjoying it since I did ayahuasca. So the last few years have been great.
Hold on. Okay. Let's dive into that. That was a transformative decision that you decided to go do that? And did you know it was going to change you forever?
I mean, I hoped for sure. I mean, I don't think you can ever know for certain when you're dealing with master plant teachers, but...
What's that?
Ayahuasca, like it's a master plant teacher.
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
you're talking about the plant itself.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think there's some master plant teachers from,
Okay.
Ayahuasca and Wachuma, peyote. I haven't done those other ones, but there's many master plant teachers that people have been using for thousands and thousands of years. There's churches set up across the country that serve some of these medicines and have deep and meaningful experiences. Went down to Machu Picchu in Peru and had magical experiences there in Peru in the Sacred Valley, and then had a couple really interesting nights on the medicine and came back a changed person.
First of all, I need to point out one funny thing about Pat McAfee's.
One?
Actual funny thing is that the nameplate says Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back NFL MVP, has done ayahuasca. I'll give him that.
Here's what I want to say. I kind of understand now why Aaron Rodgers wants to go on this show all the time, because compared to Pat McAfee, he seems incredibly sane and grounded. Because Pat McAfee, that literally was like watching like a student who just did like study abroad in college talk to their like shit-faced uncle at like a family gathering, because he's like, what? Oh, cannabis. Like,
yeah,
unhinged. I don't like that man.
So yeah, he basically uses McAfee to go on and talk about all of his things and just kind of have a platform to say whatever.
And the thing is, like, I don't hate the wanting to be self-aware or wanting to try like alternative types of getting in touch with yourself other than like, the traditional Western stuff. I don't hate that. And I like every so often he says something like, it all starts with like self-love or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, actually watching these McAfee clips, researching this, I was kind of like, I'm so torn on Rodgers, because like I kind of like, I've always liked his ability to kind of have both sides of like a more, like going all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Like he's the more intellectual, sensitive guy that's also incredible at his sport and is like known as one of the greatest of all time.
I think, obviously we live in a very polarizing time. And I think, unfortunately, the more in the public eye you are, the more you sort of like create this narrative that like you're being attacked for just thinking differently. And it's like, I don't know, like having too much fame and wealth makes people go nut.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was the Rodgers ayahuasca drama.
Okay.
That takes
really
us
drama.
up to the 2022 off-season drama, which was last year, where he confirmed finally that he'd play for the Packers like this last year after like...
Oh, yeah. He was like on a boat partying instead of going to training camp.
That's when he was doing ayahuasca, hanging out with Shailene Woodley, going with Miles Teller to different waterfalls.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like, oh, maybe he's just going to go chill.
I remember thinking that was obnoxious. I remember being like, your teammates are literally like doing the job you're supposed to be doing right now, and you're just like very publicly on vacation.
Yeah. And then that went into last season where the Packers missed the playoffs. He didn't do that well. It was kind of a down year. So this brings us to the 2023 offseason, which we're literally in, and Rodgers isn't without drama again because he's again saying, I might not return to the Packers. I might go play somewhere else. And in order to decide that, he may be doing ayahuasca. I don't know, but he's also doing another sort of woo-woo thing, which is like he came out and said that he's going to go to a 300-foot square room like cave and do darkness retreat or therapy and think about whether or not what he wants to do next.
Yeah.
So he went to Sky Cave Retreats and did a solo retreat and thought about...
Wasn't he supposed to be there for like 4 days and he only made it through 2 or whatever?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah. He like Punxsutawney filled himself. He was like, when I come out of this hole, I will know...
how many weeks of winter are left?
Yes. But still have no idea what football team I'm going to play for.
And guess what? He is probably going to play for the New York Jets.
You think?
And if you remember this story that has been just told to you, where did Brett Favre go?
He went to the New York Jets after the Packers. And then the Vikings.
Why did he do that? Because a successor was coming, Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love, the quarterback they picked too early for Rodgers, in his opinion, did the exact same thing to Rodgers, and Rodgers did the exact thing to Love, where The Packers a couple of years ago picked the successor to Rodgers, this young quarterback named Jordan Love, in the first round, who they traded up in the draft to get.
Mm-hmm.
And Rodgers felt the same way Favre did. And Favre somewhere was like,
yeah,
now you know. And the cycle continues.
I mean, I don't want to defend Aaron Rodgers because he's not the most likable character and he's controversial in a lot of ways. But if he wants to do this for himself after a whole saga of, his worldview seems to be that like he's an underdog, the world's against him. And if this is going to make him happy, fine. And the Jets haven't been good for a while, right?
No. So that's kind of the Aaron Rodgers saga, probably skipping a lot of things. I'm no expert, even though I've paid attention to this very closely my whole life. But those are sort of the big highlights on Aaron Rodgers. It was fun to sort of do an episode that's just kind of a bio walkthrough of a whole life, which is something I think we'll probably do more.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to get in the habit of asking this. What, in sort of a sports kid, drama kid world, would you do with the Aaron Rodgers story in a creative realm?
Oh, it's a one-man show.
Of course it is.
It's a one-man show, and it's, basically just one long monologue, but taking you from like high school Aaron Rodgers through current day, and in the classic one-man show format of like, it's a pretty bare space, but there's like a coat rack with like different props and costumes, and you have to do like transitions, and maybe the transition is like, they got somebody to design projections of like a football sailing across.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a bad one-man show.
There's definitely a whole scene where he like does the ayahuasca ceremony.
I was just about to say, yeah, 100%. Like, don't sit in the front row. Like, that's the splash zone for the ayahuasca journey. No, I definitely think it's a one-man show because I don't think the story can be told in a more modest way than that.
Yep.
He's an interesting guy. I feel like whatever you think your view of Rodgers is, he then like he reads to me as like a guy who's really struggling to figure out who he is. When someone goes through that many facial hair and hairstyles, you should be a little worried about their mental health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's the same. It's the classic thing. Like when someone wants to get bangs, you're like, do you need to see a therapist or do you want me to actually cut bangs?
Anyway, thank you so much for listening to another Sports Kid, Drama Kid. This was sort of your Aaron Rodgers test prep document.
Yeah.
If you have to take a test on him. So I hope we got you up to speed on some of the most important moments in the Rodgers saga.
Yeah. And don't do too well on that test.
No, because then you'll be labeled as
it's not good to be too smart
quarterback without the intangible other skills.
The je ne sais quoi.
Yes.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe and tell a friend and follow us on the socials.
If you're listening to us, you can also watch us on YouTube and vice versa. Subscribe to us on the podcast if you just want to listen. Tell your friends, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.